Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Comic Source Comic Boom collaboration. We're on day number 10. Day number 10 of the 12 days of Spawnmas. It's almost hard to believe we're up to issue number 10. It's gone by really quick. It's been super enjoyable. Apologize. I know my audio is not quite up to normal levels. I'm on the road, traveling, seeing some family for the holidays, going to see Matrix Resurrection called tonight. So don't have my regular setup, but wanted to be sure to record this and get it out for you. You guys really seem to be enjoying these. The numbers are starting to go crazy. So we really appreciate the support. And we're up to issue 10, as I said. And this was a real interesting issue. Any initial thoughts, Rocky?
Well, it stars Dave Sims' Cerebus character, and it's definitely it's actually an issue that you could, having read issues 11 already, you could actually skip this issue. It's not a necessary issue to understand the narrative, but it definitely is. It's very meta in many ways, and I'm actually not entirely sure what Todd McFarlane's trying to say. I have some idea. I think he's got something to say about creator works and what have you, and about creators and their creations and superheroes and writers and artists, and so I think it's saying something outside the box a little bit. But anyways, it'll be interesting to get into it.
Yeah, well, keep in mind it's written by Dave Sims. So again, just like the Neil Gaiman issue, just like the Alan Moore issue, you wonder how much McFarlane had input on the actual story. But certainly with McFarlane being founding members of Image Comics, and to hear him tell the story, the catalyst, the first one to say, hey, maybe we should go do our own thing. He certainly, and especially at this time when this comic came out, he certainly was a champion for creator rights. And yeah, there's no, once again, even though it's written by Dave Sim and not McFarlane, there's no subtlety here. We all know how political Dave Sim was and is, um, and he's unfortunately some of his political opinions have kind of gone off the deep end in recent years, especially with the misogyny and whatnot. But he certainly was a champion for creator rights, from the beginning as well. So let's dive into issue number 10. As I said, written by Dave Sim, art is by Todd McFarlane, letters are by Tom Orzechowski, colors by Steve Olaf and Ruben Rude. Now, if you remember at the end of last issue, he defeated Angela, but then some would say stupidly, uh, Caligstro would certainly say stupidly, picked up her staff and hit the button and transformed himself into energy. His energy counter went down to 0, and you kind of see it on the first page there, that little gloop floating across the screen. And we have somewhat of a dual narrative throughout this issue. The Spawn on the left saying, I'm Spawn, and the Spawn on the right saying, I'm not Spawn. And it's basically sort of a recap. And like Rocky said, none of it is really that important in terms of the dialogue. There's not really much here. Some of it's meta, some of it's uh, expositional, recapping what's happened in the issue so far. The person who is not Spawn but claims to know everything has all knowledge of Spawn. What would you find if you dug up Al Simmons' grave? Who actually killed him? What are the names of the detectives that have been investigating Spawn? And so at first you're like, wait, so who's this other not Spawn guy that yet looks like Spawn and has all the knowledge of Spawn? And that character is the one that's narrating, and he goes on to say that he even knows what's on all the levels of the Tower of Hell that we saw a couple of issues ago that Alan Moore wrote, except Erebus, level 7, Erebus. And I'm not sure if that's supposed to be Cerebus. It was a typo, or it's supposed to be Erebus. And not
Yeah,
only
that's a good question. I thought that too. Maybe it was a typo.
yeah, or maybe it's just didn't want to go all that way of saying Cerebus. Maybe didn't want to give it away. I mean, I don't know. It's on the cover. Cerebus is on the cover. But the other thing that this guy has is the ability to teleport. And unlike Spawn, it doesn't use up any of his energy. In fact, nothing this guy does uses up any energy. It's all unlimited. So Again, Spawn was killed last issue. Is he still dead? Who's this guy in the afterlife? Like, what's going on? And he does enter that level 7, because he wants to know what's on level 7. But what he finds is a bunch of guys wearing hoods with nooses around their neck. They're being exposed to flame and fire that fires a threat. And then as you turn the page, this is an iconic image. It's a double page spread, and you see the bars of this prison. And reaching through the bars of the prison are arms of superheroes and supervillains, and they are very, very iconic. Like, you can recognize every single one of these arms. Every single one is recognizable. You've got Juggernaut, Flash, Thing, Doctor Octopus, Thor, Joker, Doctor Doom, Beast, Venom, Spider Man, Superman,
Yeah.
Hulk, Shazam, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern. So maybe that last one, a Wolverine. I think I forgot to mention Wolverine. Um, and I don't, maybe that one yellow one that's on the other side of Flash, Reverse Flash, maybe
Yeah,
that one.
that's a tough call. I'm not sure. That could be a whole slew of people. I'm not sure.
Oh, and I think I forgot to mention Ultron next to Juggernaut there. So again, every one of them recognizable, and the narration here again. Remember, McFarlane leaves Marvel Comics, starts his own company. Marvel wouldn't give him what he felt he deserved, wouldn't give him what he wanted. Let's go do our own thing. Very much creator rights, which Dave Sim, some people would say to the point of being curmudgeonly, always championing creator rights. He's saying these are heroes, they're noble, they're champions, they're watchmen, avengers, defenders, men of steel, women of tomorrow, gods of thunder, crusaders. They are justice, they are nobility, and they are trapped, and they are screaming. And behind me, the hooded men tremble. Who are these guys? So Spawn, even though not this is technically not Spawn, still has those instincts of wanting to rescue, wanting to be a hero. Uses his power, blasts out at the bars. Nope, can't rescue these people. So in response, they say, "Take our power," and they implore him to the point of almost overwhelming him, calling out to Spawn, "Take our power. We're trapped. We're not allowed to escape. We're not allowed to live. Take our power." And then, and this is what I was talking about when Rocky was saying that the digital issue was available, right? We turn the page. Clearly, this is Superman, right? But there's no symbol. You can't see his face. Everything's in shadow, but he's wearing a blue skin tight costume. He's got a yellow belt. He's got a red cape. He does have a grin that maybe you wouldn't associate it with Superman, but it says that the my planet exploded. I was sent to Earth as an infant. And when Not Spawn talks about him, he says, "The lone voice is filled with hope and great caring, strong and noble, the voice of he who came first." In terms of, in publishing history, Superman is credited as the first superhero, the one that started the genre. And so, again, everybody's imploring him. All these heroes are imploring him, "Take our power, take our power, take our power." So he does. He does take the power. And he talks about how the sky's the limit. His arms and the earth, his arms are the earth and the stars and the planets and the galaxies that never will be, right?
Yeah.
So again, this not Spawn has in his hands, in his arms, the ability to create anything, right? To create galaxies, to create worlds, to create universes. So remember that, because it's going to be important in a little bit. Um, and then we see this mashup of the Violator show up, kind of for whatever reason, a woman. So it's a mashup of like the Violator and Lady Justice. And on the scales that are being measured by this Lady Justice, whose dress is made out of dollar bills, we're told perhaps billions of dollars. The dress would certainly be billions of dollars, probably trillions of dollars, once we get into the meaning behind this, if you know what I'm saying, with MCU and whatnot. But in the scales are money on one side and heart on the other. And again, very, very metaphorical in terms of, if you're a creator, you can go work for the big two and you can make your money, or you can be true to yourself. You can be true to your heart, but you can't have both. That's what's sort of being said here. And again, uh, the blind Lady Justice here, blind violator Lady Justice, is definitely definitely representing corporate comics, I'd say, and the billions of dollars made. Um, and so, what Spawn finds out as Cerebus shows up says, "Who are all these?" Cerebus says, "I'm here to take you home." He's like, "Wait, I can't go home. I got to rescue these people. Like, who are they?" And Cerebus says, "Well, they're superheroes like you." And he's like, "Well, who are the guys with the hoods? Who are the guys that are blinded? Who are the guys that are being taken advantage of, being tortured?" He says, "Those are the creators who sold them." Like, okay, Dave Sim, hit us over the head with your uh,
Commentary.
commentary about corporate comics and how these characters have been bought by corporations and used for years to tell stories. And notice he doesn't say they're stolen, but he's certainly in the way these creators are depicted with the blindfolds and the nooses around their neck. Certainly they're captive. They're soldiers. They didn't have a choice. They got a raw deal. That's what Sim is saying, and he through the mouth of his character Cerebus, who says it's best not to think about it. And Spawn's like, what? Wait, what's going on? So Cerebus takes him home, and when he takes him home, he doesn't take him back to New York. Doesn't take him back to previous places Spawn has been. He takes him to this what's not Spawn describes as a beautiful house. And they go upstairs, and Cerebus is telling him the reason that you are here, the reason that you still matter, is because your creator's still with you. Your creator didn't sell you. Your creator is married to a woman named Wanda. Your character has a daughter named Cyan. So what we come to learn is, even though it looks like Spawn, this not Spawn is actually Todd McFarlane. It's actually whatever part of Todd, whatever creative spark of Todd as a comic book creator, as an illustrator, as the person that created Spawn, whatever spark of creation lives in Spawn, that's what we're seeing here. This piece of Todd that created Spawn. So that's why he knows the names of Sam and Twitch. That's why he knows what's in Al Simmons' coffin. It's why he has unlimited power. He is the creator. He is that part of Spawn which has been imbued from McFarlane. So you think back to all that stuff that was being said about McFarlane chose to follow his heart and leave Marvel and go to Image, even though he was giving up financial security, he was giving up all this stuff, and he gets to meet his daughter. And again, it's a little heavy-handed from Sim, but he does get to meet his daughter, and has a nice cry, and then he hears Wanda, his wife, come home, and he goes walking down the stairs with Cyan in his hands, and his wife says, "Oh, how was your day?" He says, "Oh, I had the craziest dream, but yeah, good day." So very meta, and you can think of there's a couple things that I want to mention when we have all these corporate heroes that were trapped behind the bars. You can think of those bars as corporate comics, right? Like you can't tell the stories that you want to tell because again, they're at this point they're billion-dollar properties, and so they're kind of locked away with their sort of corporate caretakers. So they don't have freedom because you can't really do what you want to do because they're too valuable. And so it's a little bit. And again, I don't know how much McFarlane contributed to the story. Maybe it's Dave Sims saying to McFarlane, "What you did by creating Image is a good thing." And you have all these characters saying, "Take our power, take our power, take our power." They're not necessarily saying, "Take our superpowers." They're saying, "Take our agency." Again, this is the birth of Image. At this point in the comic industry, nobody had any idea what was going to happen. Was Image going to fall on its face? Was it going to work? Was that going to put the big two out of business? Corporate comics going to go away? So that's kind of the Wild West right now. And so them saying take our power is more about giving power back to the creators. And that's what Image did in a lot of ways. The other thing that I want to mention is when he does take the power, remember how I said that, or in the comic, Sim has not spawned say the power flows into me, it's in my arms. In my arms is the earth and the stars and the planes and the universe or whatever. In my arms, in my hands. That's very metaphorical as well, right? Because in what way do comic creators create these galaxies, create these universes, create these stories and characters that we all love? With their hands, right? Either drawing things or typing a script or working digitally these days or whatever. So very much a metaphor of, when you think about it, how incredibly powerful, how many worlds live within the hands of creators. So there's like Rocky said, very meta. A lot of this stuff still applies today, because creator rights haven't come as far as they maybe should have in the past 30 years since Image came on the scene. But certainly they've come a long way, a lot further than they were back then, especially with things like Kickstarter, crowdfunding, that sort of thing. So again, super heavy-handed, super meta, but there's worthwhile stuff here. I know some people have a problem with Dave Sim and his politics, but there's nothing overt here that's offensive. I think it's really just focused on creator rights and what McFarlane was able to do. So yeah, I mean it's a good issue. And again, I talked about in issue 8 where Alan Moore got to write it, and I felt like the McFarlane art improved, maybe because he didn't have to do any writing. But I felt like in issue 9, the one we covered last time, I didn't really feel like the art was that great. It had really thick lines from McFarlane. Usually he uses thin lines. We're back to some great McFarlane art here, and especially that iconic image that Rocky has on the screen right now with all the arms, and the image that we showed earlier where not Spawn absorbs all the energy. And that's just a fantastic image. I love that image with the planets and the stars and whatnot within the arms of not Spawn. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. Um, but again, this issue advances the story of Spawn together or forward. Not at all. Not at all. And could easily be skipped for sure. What are your thoughts, Rocky?
Well, it's interesting that even though it doesn't really advance the story, it kind of references the story, because it does talk about, this is actually the seventh level of hell, and this is because the Not Spawn talks about how he's familiar, or I guess you could say the writer is familiar with the character of Spawn, because the creator creates Spawn or creates the characters, but they're familiar with all levels of the character except for level 7, the Erebus. It's kind of a reference, because we were introduced to the 10 different spheres of hell in earlier Spawn issues, and this appears to be another level of hell. So again, speaking meta and maybe outside the box a bit, it is interesting that, what is level 7? Like, this level 7, it's it's almost like a statement. I mean, clearly, like you said, Dave Sim is making a statement here. It's like, be careful, whatever your passions are, to own what you create, and don't lose yourself. Don't, if that which you put your passion into, don't give it away. Cherish it. Sacrifice for it. Keep it. Don't give it away. Just like the big two of it, just like that image with all the superheroes, reaching out through the prison, desperately wanting to give Spawn their power, so that he can continue to be independent and stay away from the big two and not become corporate. Stay independent. I also find it interesting that Cerebus, I think prior to Spawn, wasn't Cerebus the longest running independent title? I think Cerebus went for almost 200, 300 issues, didn't it? I mean, sorry, I'm not picking up your a sound, but
Sorry about that. Cerebus went for exactly 300 issues.
yeah.
So when Spawn, that broke the record.
Yeah, so I find that interesting, and of course, Dave Sim would not know that at the time. That, here we are, we're way past we're past 300 issues of Spawn, and so here we are reviewing this particular issue. So no, this was again very very meta. I agree with you. The art is a little better than in previous issues. I'm not really sure why, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I love the metaphor. I really love the image where it shows sort of the scales of justice, with Lady Death, with having money on one side and the heart and the passion of the creators on the other. I thought it the metaphor works very well.
Where was that Violator figure? They didn't make that in McFarlane Toys, huh?
No, I don't think they did. No, I'd have bought that if they did. I kind of like the perverse sense of justice. I got more than a few Lady Justice statues in the office.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. You being a lawyer and all, I could see you going for that. So,
Yeah.
uh, again, like I really hope, and I've talked to Todd's representatives. I've talked to Todd at times at shows, and we've talked about having him on. We've never been able to happen. Um, I know he gets tons of requests, but when I think about the things I would like to talk to him about, like these early issues, specifically the ones written by Alan Moore. I don't know how much you'd want to talk about the Neil Gaiman one based on the legal stuff, but this one by Dave Sim, the next one by Frank Miller. Like I really want to know how much input did he have in the stories? Like how much did he just say, okay, go nuts? Because it's so interesting. It's not like he was like Spawn was this super well established character to have these people come on after he only did 7 issues. But again, I think the 7 issues took about a year to come out because they had so much going on. And the books were just chronically late, as Rocky will recall. But anyway, any last thoughts on issue 10?
No, other than the fact that it was again, a really nice callback, 3 issues in a row from very different styled creators. It was definitely McFarlane really was trying to make a statement early on with Spawn, and he clearly succeeded because these stories again they've stood the test of time.
Yeah, they really do. I wonder, we've speculated maybe it's the all the different characters with their arms sticking out. Maybe it's the Superman image. Maybe it's Dave Sim himself. The fact that it's Cerebus. Maybe he's not allowing it. Maybe he's mad that Todd McFarlane beat his 300, got to 3. Who knows? But anyway, we want to thank you guys all for joining us. We really appreciate it. As always, appreciate the support. A real special treat for you. There's another 12 days of the Comic Source episode out today. This is 12 Days of Spawnmas, which is, taking over the 12 Days of the Comic Source, but we're still putting out a few other episodes. So I got a chance today to also speak with Alex Sinclair, who I think is one of the most talented color artists of the last couple decades. A lot of people know his work from Batman Hush, Superman Man of Tomorrow. I mean, he was it was that dream team of Jim Lee, Scott Williams, and Alex Sinclair that did just a ton of iconic DC work. So not only did I get a chance to sit down and chat with Alex and have a really interesting conversation about color artists and what they bring to the industry, hands on a scan of an old, very classic, uncanny X-Men cover by Jim. The cover where Wolverine and Gambit are kind of facing off against each other. Now you got to remember that when this was originally colored, digital coloring didn't exist, so it was colored in the old style. So Alex takes I mean, he doesn't do the whole thing because it would just take too long, but he fully renders Wolverine. He flats the whole thing, and then he fully renders Wolverine while we're chatting. So that is out today, also on the YouTube channel. There's also an audio only version that you can listen to, but I highly recommend you go and check out the YouTube version. Even if you just skip to the end because you've already listened to the audio, skip to the end just so you can see just how awesome this cover is by Alex Sinclair. So I've known Alex for a while, and we've talked about having him on the show for literally for years, and our schedules just never lined up. And then we were just about to make it happen, and then COVID hit, and that insanity. So I'm glad that we were finally able to do it, and hopefully we'll have him back on again soon. It was a real treat. Some of the most fun I've had doing an interview in a long time. Very, very informative, as Rocky will attest to. Color artists, they just don't get the credit they deserve in comics. It's better now than it used to be, but they deserve so much credit for what they bring. So highly encourage you guys to check out that other episode that's out today. Also, don't forget, if you are just listening to us on the podcast audio only, be sure you head over to YouTube and subscribe to Rocky's channel, Comic Boom. That's Comic Space Boom exclamation point. That's where you can find all his videos, all his reviews, interviews he does, showing off his great collection of comics. Ring the notification bell, as well as being like this video. All that stuff really helps us with exposure and the ability to bring you more content. If you are checking us out on the YouTube channel and you're not subscribed to the audio podcast feed, that really helps us out as well. So whatever your favorite podcast app or podcasting platform is, just do a search for the Comic Source and hit subscribe. We really appreciate it. And as we're heading into Christmas, just a few days away, I want to wish everybody happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Merry Kwanzaa, whatever it is that you celebrate. We hope it's a joyous time, and you guys all get a chance to at least relax for at least a day and read some comics. So, anything else to add as we're wrapping up here, Rocky?
No, just happy Spawnmas. Yeah.
That's going to do it. We appreciate the support as always. We'll talk to you next time.
See you later.